Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager 23, episode 85. The closer and closer we get to the release of F1 Manager 24, the more excited I get with seeing, what's coming with the game and the changes that there are. Of course, the custom team, adding that 11th team to the grid. I can't wait to get involved with that. But we still have a season to finish up here. It's going to be a rough 4 days here as we've got a lot of destroyed or failed components to replace. And I didn't have a huge stock in reserve, so things could be tight for the next 4 days. Likewise, I think our powertrain for Tanaka is looking pretty haggard. It was once used, mostly new stuff. The gearbox in particular took a huge hit. I think it dropped at least 40% on it. So, ow. Good job in the F3 race of both Hoffman and Fallbush making the podium. And it's starting to be a regular thing to see one of our female drivers on that F3 podium. The redistribution towards the top end of time has been voted against, including by us and a majority. In fact, this is the closest to a full majority that we've seen. It's weird. I guess Alpine is on top right now. But, yeah, like Red Bull, they would never vote against that. It turns out I had just enough spares to get us to the weekend. We're looking at 3 of our highest level on everything but the front wing. I will have 1 more front wing manufactured in time before we head to Spa, which is just 4 days away. That'll give me 1 spare. But right after Spa, I'll have a new front wing and rear wing design complete. And with the summer break coming, I should have enough time to replace the existing front wing, rear wing with the new design. So we're going to take a little bit of a risk here by having just 3 for the coming race weekend. Let's hope it doesn't get destroyed.
This weekend, we're in Belgium, in the picturesque province of Liège. Halfway through the season, it's too early to call the championship. Can teams make good before the summer break, or will they be hoping for a reset?
With a sprint weekend, I'm going to go ahead and play out. Last race discovered that we're really not making much of a difference. We add a few percentage points, which gives a little bit more of a morale boost. Confidence boost heading into the race, but it didn't make a difference on our qualifying. It did not help our qualifying at all by getting in there and not simulating. We still ended up in the same place. So for a few percentage points, all the extra work, all the extra time to run through all the practice sessions and through the qualifying really did not make a substantial difference. However, sprint weekends are a little bit different. And we have often had our settings, our setup, significantly worse on the sprint weekends. Therefore, I'm going to see if I can get a more significant boost on this weekend. Qualifying, though, we'll sim that one. So we're into another race weekend, into the summer break soon enough. But first, we've got to get through one more race. Already getting a healthy boost out a full lap before anybody else has even seen the track. Are we going to make it 2 laps? Wow, we are 2 laps before anybody's properly out on track. A couple cars coming out just ahead of us there, but otherwise, let's conserve that engine. These hards are going to go a nice long time, but we're going to just kind of run through them. I opted, for the first time this season, not to bring Brun into an FP1 session. I want Florish and Tanaka to get the track acclimatization for this race. Let's see how they do. Traction was already dead on with no change, but we're going to get out of that sequence now, as we are, like I did before, making sure that we only do setup changes that involve the quick turnaround so we can get right back out on track. Tanaka's already been in twice. Florish now in her second time. The thing about this is the feedback loop. It's not about getting the setup right, at least not in FP1. It's about narrowing the window And you can see how we've narrowed it in already in such a strong positive way. You just need maximum running, and you need to just complete that feedback loop as many times as you can within that window. And sure, you want to try to nail these two in while you can, and look what it's doing for us elsewhere. By FP2, you start worrying about those other things. But this is already going to set us up for a better setup than I think we've had on any sprint weekend throughout the entire series. And I'm still in FP1. There's still 12 minutes left in FP1. Florsch had 6, because we went through twice. So she had 10 plus 2 additional. So 12 feedback loops for Florsch. Has already narrowed it enough. That was in one practice session. So that is so much more than what we were getting out of the quick sims. It is worth it to at least run one practice session. I think simming FP2, FP3 type scenarios won't matter as much, but if I give one practice session a weekend, I can get a lot more out of our setup and get that starting confidence, get those boosts, because it benefits you in 2 ways, right? One, we get the attribute boosts, which we need, right? That's our shortcoming. We don't have the attributes. If we can get +3 to 5 attributes every race weekend instead of +2, it's a no-brainer on the benefit of that. But it's also the driver confidence that is increased by setting that up and getting them further along. Of course, we've only had one session, so no matter what you do, driver confidence is about a medium when you head into qualifying on Friday. Crazy thing here is that Tanaka actually got further in the process. She got 13 feedback loops compared to Florsch's 12, and yet finds herself with a much harder to find setup at the moment. So how much did I help him by? Well, the setup got him a little bit further. Tanaka, not last. Florsch is, though. Not sure why she is so far off the pace, especially when we got her onto a 97% car setup. 97. Ooh, and the weakest one for Tanaka that saw her a little bit off is actually the one that can be adjusted. But it's going to mess up her other settings, so we're not going to mess with it. We're just going to keep it the same. 85 is good, especially for a sprint weekend. We'll take that setup. Now that we go into actual racing, you see just how much better off we are.
The sprint around Spa-Francorchamps. It's lights out and away we go.
After what happened last time, I'm not messing with that manager or with the face cam after it did not turn back on last time. So we get started. Tanaka already losing a place, losing 2 places. She's down to P18 off the line. Florsch is, of course, still P20. Oh no, I guess it's only 1 place she lost. She was 17th initially. Still battling here with Ocon in that Red Bull, and regains that position. Nicely done there. Tanaka, I'm not gonna... Oh, man, she even went up the inside of the McLaren. Nice. Nicely done. She's up to P16. Florsch is already at the back. I'm going to go ahead and go balanced immediately on Florsch. I'd like to use that spare fuel. Tanaka also comfortably into P16 now. Let's see what happens if we back off a little. Just coming up on the end of lap number 1. DRS is now enabled as it's a sprint. Comes up a lap faster. I think after the long straight here, we'll go ahead and start to settle in a little bit. Magnussen, a bit far back compared to Tanaka. And Tanaka all over the back of the Aston Martin of Gasly. He's going to go up the inside and into P15. Oh, she's got some pace. 8/10 behind. Holy crap, that was hurt in your mouth moment into the chicane there. Let's go back with Tanaka and see if Tanaka can make some forward progress. Here it's obvious as you go through Eau Rouge and Radion that you need to be pushing through there to use the DRS, especially as the acceleration doesn't matter quite as much. That top speed becomes much more important here. So So as we come out of turn 1, that's where you're going to want to get aggressive, make a push. Because then you start catching up through Radion and then have that DRS to make a run, but Flourish does not do so successfully here. Lap 4 of 15. We're going to go ahead and attack once again with Flourish. I think she got a much better run this time. And we got yellow flags. Magnussen with a lockup. Turn 5. Flourish did make the overtake. She's up to 19th. Tanaka still running 15th. Oh, that was Magnussen. No. So she did not... Or was it Magnussen that she was trying to overtake? There was a McLaren down here, I think. So I'm pretty sure that was Magnussen outbraking himself as Flourish was putting him under pressure. Tanaka losing some ground. We need to go aggressive here. And deploy. Close that up. 1.2 down. Right now she's not. It's because Sargent got DRS on Hadjar and closed up massively. And it left Tanaka a little bit vulnerable. And while she's recovered a 10th, she's not close enough. She's very vulnerable right now to Gasly, who's close behind. Gasly is getting a run with the DRS, is going to go to the inside, but is not going to complete the overtake. Is on the mediums as well. I got to keep pushing, though. Oh, it looked like he's on the mediums. He's not. Everybody's on the softs. Right now, tire life is looking great for Flourish. Her and Ocon have the best tire life. Okay. 5/10. We've closed it up. We have closed it up, so neutral. And back to Flourish, who's in that perfect spot right now. But not in that perfect spot. She's 1.3 down on Albon. I don't know what happened to her point 2 while we were distracted with Tanaka. Flourish lost a full second. Attack mode. On the outside. We back out of it, but we've got potential for a good run here. And that will do it. '18th for Flourish. Lap 9 of 15 though. Fuel now becoming the concern. Back at point 3 here. We're going to have to recover a little bit at some stage, as we have pushed a fair bit. Tanaka is 14th. Did I already overtake Sargent, or did I miss that one? Problem for Flourish at this point is it's a train ahead of her, so making an overtake is going to be difficult, really difficult for either of them. Though this is one of those times where the Astons are battling each other, and then Ocon's all over the back of them. Can we make a little bit of a run? No, we're too far back. I didn't want to push that. Well, now we've closed it up. Pushing the tire seems to work fairly well for Flourish. Especially in, not necessarily on that straight, but through the cornering zones. We might be able to make an overtake. There's no DRS in there, so they don't have that advantage. That might be her opportunity now, is not down the straight, but after the straight. Ocon ended up squeezing up the inside of the Aston Martin, otherwise I was going to probably get alongside him there. Ocon finally goes through. There goes the last of our battery. We got to go neutral. And we've got to go conservative. We've got to get that right for the final lap. Come on, Flourish, can you get one more? There you go. Nice. Flourish gets around Gasly. One more position. That's 17th. Meanwhile, Tanaka has a little bit here. This is the final. No, it's too late.
Today, is Lance Stroll.
Stroll. And the McLaren has won the sprint. Tanaka gets 14th. Florsch gets 17th. It's a good result from where we started. Both drivers moving forward 3 positions in that sprint race. Absolutely making some forward progress.
It's the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's lights out. And
we push out 15 laps to now 44 with our now advanced starting positions, 14th and 17th. If we can hang on to those as we go into turn 1, Tanaka is very clearly giving up this position to Ocon. Back up into 17th ahead of Gasly. So 15th and 17th off the start line. Tactics for today. Florsch is going to do what we expect most everybody to do, which is a one-stopper, soft to medium. Tanaka, I'm going to go more aggressive. Tanaka's weak on tires. She does not last long. So she has to be aggressive or conservative. If she's conservative, she's slow. So we're going to try to be aggressive. A two-stopper here is expected to be a slower strategy. But I'm going to try to be aggressive with Tanaka, to make forward movement, to make some overtakes, and if we can, she had a really bad run there and lost some ground, but she is closing it up back now. We're not in DRS yet, so her able to close that back down is a big thing, and actually Florsch and Sargent come with her, and it opens the gap to Gasly, who did not come along with us now on lap 2. We did underfuel by a bit, so Tanaka's in good position. Let's go ahead and back off there. Florsch is. Tanaka is. Let's stop burning that fuel because it will require some almost certain underfueling at some point. 1 lap of underfueling is a lot here. Okay, Tanaka, if we back up... Oh, no. Not that kind of backup. Not that kind of backup. What the heck? Don't you dare. I was saying if we back up Sargent a little bit and then push hard, like what is going on with Tanaka all of a sudden? All we did was settle in and she suddenly loses she lost a full second. She lost a full second in a sector and a half and nearly got overtaken there by Sargent. That was an incredibly terrible lap from Tanaka. She's already recovered half a second of that, but now without DRS is a sitting duck to what looks like a medium guys going mediums. Medium to hard, medium to soft. That's terrible. Tanaka, she lost in less than a lap. She not only lost a second, but she got easily overtaken by somebody on the medium compound. She's going to go back around the outside. Detection zone there has her behind, so she should have the DRS here, even though she's pulled ahead. Will she get it? No, she doesn't. But Florsch also went around Sargent. Something happened with Sargent. Sargent ended up way back there. But that's 15th and 16th now. 1.7 behind. Tanaka... Do I want to deploy to try to push? No, we're just going to drive hard. Tanaka's the one pushing. Tanaka's the one who's going to pit early. There is no reason for Florsch to go deep. We want Florsch on that one-stop strategy. I'd love for Tanaka to do a little push-pull and drag Florsch forward. 3 seconds ahead of Sargent already. Wow. Talk about a pace difference. We're back down to 1 second. 1 second or thereabouts. Tanaka has completed enough of a push to finally drag us back up there here on lap 6 of 44. I'm going to keep an eye on Florsch and her gap now that we get up there. And I'm going to probably start to conserve fuel for her to pull back at least like half a kilogram worth. Alright, we have now caught the train. That's now 6 cars of Drugovich, Hadjar, Zhou, and Ocon. And with it being a train, I think we're going to have to be more intentional about Well, not about Florsch losing a second here. She got too close, backed off, lost DRS. Gosh, we are all over the back of Ocon. I think next lap we can not just go a little aggressive, but go really aggressive. But not on the straight. The straight's not where we have the advantage. It's in the sector 2 and first part of sector 3 that we have the significant advantage. We've definitely gone deeper though the last time, and that was a 15 lap sprint we still had. We still had a bit left. She'll make it to lap 16. Florsch all over the back of Tanaka right now, and Tanaka struggling to keep up with those cars ahead. And this is another one of those just inconsistent laps. Tanaka lost a lot of ground on that lap. She just had a really poor lap. Florsch nearly overtakes her and then has to back off. So Tanaka lost about 7/10 on that lap. So that's the second time we've seen that now. I really think that's coming down to that driver rating, that consistency part. Her low attribute rating just suddenly said, this is going to be a bad lap. And so she went out and had a bad lap. At least she didn't lock up. At least she didn't run wide. But she lost that DRS range. So Florsch right now following pretty easily as Tanaka now tries to close it back up to that group ahead. 5 seconds ahead now of those chasers, so we have pulled further away from them. Dragovic lost Hadjar a little bit there, and that's all just relatively close. So in clean air, Tanaka might be able to undercut those cars, and that's going to be like the goal, is to make that kind of push. But another poor couple turns, turn to 1.1, back out into a 1.6. And again, Florsch is just all over the back of her with nowhere to go, nothing to do, and especially on the don't fight your teammate status. Guessing it's probably going to just happen here naturally on this lap. Florsch is like all over the back of her. I think it's because we're down to the 40%. We got it down to 1.1 already, though, for Florsch, so that part's good, but we lost a lot of ground on those cars ahead. It's lap 15, so we got 2 laps to go for Tanaka. She's only going to just make it, probably. Go standard here. I have a feeling that Florsch is coming by. And does. So at least we'll have DRS for the next little bit. If Tanaka can keep up well enough, she's going to have to make up the ground and then continue on for her second stint on the mediums to be effective, right? If we're going to move forward at all, she's got to really, really push, and she's already out of DRS range. So it was not about the consistency, it was the tire wear. But Florsch at 2 seconds down. Checking in on the field, you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other cars, so half the field, including us, that are on the softs. But I'm not sure if anybody else is necessarily going for a 2-stop strategy as Tanaka is. Right now, it's not looking like it's worked out terribly well. One, we weren't able to go forward, and 2, she lost ground on these last few laps that saw her, drop a good 4 or 5 seconds. But here comes the first pit stop. We're not the only ones going for it. There ahead of us is Maloney. Clear 2-stop strategy there, unless they've come out on the hards, that is. 2, 5, 5, 6. Maloney's on the mediums. So soft, medium, soft strategy. Pretty evident there. Albin's down to 40%, may end up pitting soon. Florsch at 47 is the third best. Norris at 49, Ocon at 50. And as for her gap, steady at 2.4. The mediums are not expected to wear much, and it's going to be a fairly short cycle. In fact, it's going to shorten. both of the last two stints are going to be shorter than what we did on that first one. So I probably should have pit that one lap earlier if I was paying close enough attention to tactically what we're doing. But I think we're going to continue to just push. We want her to push. We want her to make good time. We'll check in a couple laps and see what her lap time is like compared to those at the rear and those in the midfield, and if she's making any progress, because she's going to have to make up a lot of time. Ocon into the pits. So it looks like a lot of the soft runners are changing tactics and going for a two-stopper, where Florsch, we're going to try to make that one-stopper work on just a soft medium. She's definitely going to lose time on those last couple laps, but even if she loses 4 seconds here and 4 seconds there, 8 seconds combines to a lot less lost than the two runs. Or the additional stop, that is. Of course, there's a little more pace in there somewhere than just the 8 seconds lost, because there's the fresh life is going to gain time. Right? The last couple laps of the stint is losing time, and yes, we are equating that to the 8 seconds, but there could be more involved, more time involved. In terms of spacing, as Sainz pits, so most of the soft cars are opting for a two-stopper. Sainz comes out directly behind Florsch. I wouldn't mind if Sainz gets by and then pulls us along, because that group of cars we were following have all pit now, and now all of a sudden the last one, Hadjar, is 4 seconds ahead. Sainz goes by. Sainz has gone by. Sainz is on brand new mediums. She is closing. So we're losing ground to Sainz, who's pit ahead of us, but we are absolutely closing on the others who are still out there. All right, here we go. 2-4. Finally an average stop. Finally an average stop. In fact, slightly better than average. Florsch comes out just behind Tanaka. That's the undercut at work. That is forward progress being made. But Tanaka has a whole extra pit stop to go, and Florsch is 2.5 seconds behind her. But you can see that the undercut is impactful, is effective, but we've already largely taken care of the fuel. We're barely halfway. We're just going to get up to temperature and settle in. Albin has gotten out of the way. Tanaka's now 1.3 behind, so she's nearly closed down on these guys. When we get within that 1 second, start closing up on the Magnusons and others. Zhou pits, comes out well behind Tanaka, and Florsch is just behind. So actually it's really okay. Let Zhou in the softs run ahead of you and drag you along. And then pit and get out of the way. With that benefit of their, pace. And when their pace is gone, then you overtake later. Not faster than anyone ahead of her. Florsch running a 1:43.8. Did Tanaka get held up, though? Is Tanaka getting held up by Sargent? No. 2.5 seconds behind Sargent. Pits. Gets out of the way. So Tanaka nearly a full pit stop ahead of Sargent now. That's a good sign. That's Zhou dragging us up to Tanaka now. When Zhou gets by Tanaka, we can have the same scenario. Magnussen just now pitting 3 cars in the pits. Tanaka now 13th. Florsch 15th. We lost that DRS range, but if we can chase down Tanaka before Zhou gets by. Nope, there goes Zhou. 1.4 behind, 1.3 behind. It's another case of Tanaka can really set up Florsch well if we can get in that DRS range, and if Tanaka cannot lose Zhou for the next little bit. Oh, somebody pits, comes out right ahead of us. That's Piastri. Piastri was way in front of us. Looking at a very different race now. For one, we're ahead of Drugovich, who was well ahead of us. 3.8. That's really the only difference. It's the same 4 that were behind, and now Drugovich, who just pit much later. Piastri pitting much later. And then Zhou and Maloney Tanaka looking to overtake Piastri, but settles back in behind. On the softs. Show Verstappen. Here's that question of how many of these cars are going to peel out of the way and pit a second time. How many are going to try to go the distance? Hadjar, probably going to go the distance, right? We're down to 15 laps, so we're getting into the window where you can go the distance. Magnussen, that's iffy. Hadjar can. Drugovich, iffy. Piastri, probably not. But Tanaka still heavy on fuel. Just lost DRS range on Piastri. Under that 60%, that seems to be that magic marker, especially for her. She's got the pace, she could keep up, and then she falls below 60%, and then poof, just lacks pace after that. And that we're already down to less. I don't think we need to wait that one more lap. Never mind, it's that lap anyway. I was just going to say, I think we can just go one more lap and pit. Like, we don't have to wait. Or just overtake. Nice. Oh, big mistake. Big lockup from Tanaka.
So we're heading now into
She was
turn
pushing.
5. And that's...
She was pushing. She should be able to get going again quickly, and does. Hadjar and Florsch go by. The extra pit stop was already going to mess up her day. Like, she was not going to be in the position that Florsch was going to be in. So obviously, it's not devastating to our race hopes. Our race hopes were very clearly becoming about Florsch. It was already evident that Tanaka was not going to be the hope for today, but if that wasn't clear to you, it was clear to me. I just hadn't stated it. Great stop, 2:3.84, better than average. Second quickest stop on the day. And here goes Tanaka with just that handful of laps to go. Only aggressive though. And we do have to live to coast though. She still needs it. 1.7 to go. We'll take care of it now. She is not last. So there's that. She is not last. She's made a mistake, but I'm guessing her confidence is quite low now. Yes, it is. Back to medium. Ends up at 1.3. Somebody makes a mistake. Oh, come on. It's Tanaka.
Is that the Williams
It's
involved?
Tanaka with the low confidence. So her
Right, let's have a
failed
look as we go into
overtake.
turn 4. And that's the moment the car plows into the wall.
Loser. Fix that driver confidence a little bit. So Florsch, 15th. 15th. But how many more are going to pit? How many more are going to really struggle for pace? Verstappen, too far ahead. But Piastri, Zhou, Drugovich, Hadjar's on the might be okay kind of stage. Stranger things have happened, and in terms of interval, we're only just inside 5 seconds out of the points. They're all over each other and starting to hold each other up, and I think we should be able to naturally come back to them. Tanaka's been overtaken by Magnussen after making that mistake. Go ahead and run neutral for now and see if she can at least keep up with Magnussen. Stay in that DRS range. Tanaka overtakes Magnussen here on lap 37. Meanwhile, Florsch is just now starting to come back at those cars ahead of her. And with a handful of laps to go, I'm thinking most of them, if not all of them, are not planning on pitting. But we have dropped off further away. We're just coming up on Maloney, actually, is all. Maloney has been dropped by that group. The rest of that group has pulled away from us a little bit. It's the group on the softs. Maloney we're coming at, who's on mediums. But 47%, like, a lot of them are going to really, really hurt for pace in the last few laps. It looks like they're trying to go for it, and it feels like some of them went a little too early on that. But for now, they move forward. For now, they're pulling away from us. So for them to drop back after they've pulled away, right, doesn't end up being that big of a deal. Yeah, you can see those on the softs are still running 142s, where we're running a 143 flat. Half second faster than Maloney. Definitely faster than Piastri also, who's gone too deep and is starting to drop off the pace. But it's only just. We gained 3/10. Florsch starting to chase down Maloney. I've gained half a second in a handful of turns. Coming up quick, just with a little push. 1.4 behind. But Maloney's 5 seconds off them now. And we were 5 seconds off of them before. So we have ultimately gone backwards. Sargent with the lockup. Tanaka's just 3.5 seconds behind there. Still 4/10 down. Let's get that last little bit. We've pulled away from Magnussen. Get that last little bit of fuel recovery taken care of. And then we can try. She's down to 55 though. Try to make a push on Sargent before the end. Going up the inside. Please don't lock up. She doesn't. Good. Pass Maloney for 14th position. We're going to keep right on pushing, though, to try to pull away. And if we have any hope of catching those ahead, we've got to push on a little bit anyway, as it is. We couldn't get that last bit. We got it out to 8, but here comes the DRS. Again, out to 8 after the first DRS, but this one is likely to close up. Not necessarily. Okay, we'll be able to get away. 2.5 seconds back. 1.8 seconds back. We are gaining quickly now. We are gaining quickly, but we've got to get this fuel back in order. Feels good for Florsch. 1.4 down. 1.2 down. If we have any chance of going forward, we got to start deploying now. We've got to get in DRS range. 1.0. 1.3, we didn't get there. That was the chance. We had to get inside 1 second. We had to get that DRS. We do not. Fuel's at 0. Tanaka has caught and overtaken Sargent.
It was the Williams driver.
That's good. She's gone from 20th up to 18th.
Can they squeeze by?
Was outside of turn 1. Completes the overtake. Final lap. Here comes Sainz. Wow, we were racing with Sainz there for a little bit. Right after their pit stop, though. Stroll, Tsunoda, Pourchaire, Leclerc, Russell, top 6. Florsch is still 14th. She has caught these guys, but it's too little too late. She's not going to be able to do anything. She ends up just over a second down on 10th place. 1.3. 1.3 seconds away from the points. Close. Not close enough. If we had reversed Tanaka and Florsch in the sprint, if it was Florsch at 14th and Tanaka at 17th, looks like it would have worked. The two-stop strategy, no one else ran it. We ended up being the only ones. Everybody else tried to go for the one-stopper. Some less successful than others, but 27, 29 is not that bad. So they made the tires last. They made it work. And Tanaka, her mistake was costly, about 7 seconds.
What a dreadful day it ended up being.
Being aggressive and pushing
driver.
Absolutely gained her some ground, gained her some territory, but ultimately it was slower as predicted. But it was largely the fact that she just can't make the tires last anyway. Right? See how a lot of the cars were barely making it. Had we gone for the one stopper for her, I just don't think she's gonna make it there. So we kind of had to go for an alternative strategy. It was the only thing that could work, and she did beat a couple cars as a result. But remember how much ground she and Florsch for that matter lost on those last couple laps on the softs. Had we driven more conservatively, for one thing, it would have impacted Florsch, and for another, Tanaka would have been a lot slower, and especially those last couple laps, she would have lost a lot more than the time that she did lose. Tanaka, I think it was the strategy we had to go for, so I don't think there was any fault in that. But Florsch, so freaking close, second and a half away from 10th, less than 2 seconds from 9th place, like right there, right in the mix, in the hunt. Came on a little too late on the mediums there at the end, with those on the softs being able to get forward, get by, drive away, And then when she came back at him, it was just too little, too late. So Tanaka, the only driver not to score points this season, as Logan Sargent has one. Dragovic gets his second point of the year, and Florsch is 15th in the drivers. And we remain in 9th with Haas scoring 2 points today, pulling a little bit further away from us, 11 ahead. But Aston Martin, at least they're staying behind. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.